The MotoGP paddock has been shaken once again after the CEO of Ducati issued an even sharper and more uncompromising warning to Francesco Bagnaia. It's clear that the 2026 season is not about process, adaptation, or recovery. Rather, it's an absolute proving ground under the intense pressure of the Red Factory, which is hungry for instant results. Is Bagnaia ready to respond to this ultimatum with an extraordinary performance? Or is this warning the beginning of major changes in the Ducati garage? Let's discuss. The problem isn't that Francesco Bagnaia lost the title to Marc Marquez, who rides the same Ducati. The oddity lies in how the paddock views him. In a matter of months, he has gone from being a cornerstone of the Borgo Panigale era to a world champion who appears to be on probation. Ducati didn't just build a bike based on Bagnaia's 2022 and 2023 titles. They built an era of expectation and belief that the modern Desmosedi's dominance would always come with Bagnaia's signature style, hard braking, absolute confidence in the front end, and calm, precise execution amidst the chaos of MotoGP. But everything changed when Marc Marquez arrived. The same garage suddenly became an arena for brutal comparison. It wasn't about potential anymore, but about producing results. Pecco's weaknesses, which were previously internal, were now exposed to the public. End-of-season statistics could no longer be salvaged by a narrative of bad luck. 2 Grand Prix wins in a season when his teammate transformed the same bike into a championship-winning machine were no coincidence, but rather a verdict. More worrying for Ducati was the trend, not the total numbers. There was a collapse in the latter half of the season, a string of non-finishes, and a loss of rhythm just when Ducati needed stability from the other side of the garage. Meanwhile, Marquez set the absolute standard. There were flashes of light indeed. At Mugello, Pecco once again appeared unbeatable. But that feeling never lasted long enough to become a foundation. That's why the 2026 season didn't feel like a comeback. It felt like a season of determination. Was Bagnaia still a pillar of the factory, or an expensive luxury that was no longer efficient? Throughout 2025, one word kept recurring in technical analyses: feeling. Pecco's complaints were never vague. They were specific and consistent, and almost always pointed to the front of the bike. When a rider synonymous with hard braking said he no longer trusted the front, it wasn't just a matter of the bike's setup. It was an identity crisis. The GP25 might be a world championship-winning bike in Marquez's hands, but in Bagnaia's hands, it felt like a partner to be negotiated with every lap rather than controlled. Even worse, Ducati seemed unable to translate Pecco's problems into technical solutions that worked consistently across different circuits and conditions. This internal silence fueled speculation and unease. Nicolo Bulega's comments only made matters worse. Bulega is no mere gossip. He is part of the Ducati ecosystem and has even been linked to their 2027 plans. He praised Pecco, but added a seemingly light-hearted yet incredibly pointed comment. Maybe he's a little too nice. In the context of Ducati 2026, that's not a compliment. The factory garage is now an extremely pressurized environment where the only currency is lap time under pressure. Being liked isn't a competitive advantage. Bulega also discussed the psychological differences of sharing a garage with Marquez. A rookie riding alongside Marquez is learning. A world champion like Pecco is being tested. His 2 MotoGP titles have turned expectations into obligations. After months of speculation, Ducati CEO Claudio Domenicali finally put an end to the rumours when he spoke. There was no diplomatic language or smoothing over of rough edges. Instead, he delivered a cold, straightforward and almost uncompromising message that reflected Ducati's vision of the future. In 2026, we want to achieve success with Marc Marquez and Francesco Bagnaia, bringing them both to the top. That statement wasn't motivational. It was a KPI. It was a performance target that left no room for ambiguity. Ducati wasn't crafting a comeback story. Rather, they were setting a clear and unwavering benchmark. For Bagnaia, the message was clear. Ducati offered no safe zone for a slow recovery. There was no tolerance for mediocre performances or sporadic brilliance. He was expected to perform at Marc Marquez's level consistently, every race weekend, in all conditions, not just once or twice, or on his favourite tracks. The reasoning was entirely strategic. The 2025 season was a costly lesson for Ducati. Having the best bike on the grid is no longer enough when one side of the team operates at the highest standards, while the other lags behind in rhythm, sharpness, and winning mentality. Ducati wants two equally lethal spearheads, and the deadline is 2026. Francesco Bagnaia's contract expires at the end of 2026, which is right on the brink of a major revolution in the 850cc regulations that could shake up the MotoGP grid. At this pivotal time, the pressure on Bagnaia is mounting. Meanwhile, reports from the paddock suggest that Ducati is shifting its long-term focus and budget toward Marc Marquez, the rider deemed most prepared to lead the new era. Ducati's criteria for Bagnaia are brutal, cold, and almost uncompromising. He must improve his results significantly and be able to make a difference, not just consistently finish on the podium. Additionally, a salary compromise is needed to create more financial space for a major project with Marquez. With Pecco's salary estimated at £6, $8.5 million per year, Ducati knew they were in no desperate position. Options were always available. Replacement names began to circulate and were seriously discussed behind the scenes. Fermin Aldeguer was considered a promising long-term investment. Fabio Quartararo was considered a nuclear option that could shake up the market. And Alex Marquez was considered an efficient, stable rider who was free from the psychological burden of instant championship demands. Yamaha's interest in Bagnaia strengthened Ducati's bargaining position. This drastically changed the dynamics. Pecco was no longer seen as an irreplaceable icon, but rather as a highly valuable asset on the open market who must prove his worth or accept that Ducati may move on without him. Interestingly, Ducati also began to exercise caution when it came to building a motorcycle that could only be ridden by one alien. Oscar Haro's warnings and Honda's experience were costly lessons. This is why Alex Marquez's role in developing the GP26 became politically significant. Consistency, honesty, and precision are attributes engineers desperately need. However, this is also an uncomfortable realization for Pecco. He is no longer the sole voice. It's Marc Marquez himself who has made the most candid acknowledgement of Pecco's worth. We need Pecco back at his level. He's incredibly sensitive to the bike, which is crucial for the future. Marquez insists that his speed is still there. There's only one thing left: a mental and technical reset. That's the tightrope Bagnaia will have to walk in 2026. Ducati needs him, but not sentimentality. If Pecco performs well from the beginning of the season, the narrative will shift towards the strongest partnership in MotoGP. Otherwise, every race will feel like a job interview for 2027. Can Bagnaia be Ducati's champion in the Marquez era when time, money, and patience are running out? Let us know your thoughts below.